Hey there, folks. Are you passionate about democracy and concerned about the rise of authoritarianism? I'm Joanne, Kevin's wife, and I've seen him give everything to this work. That's why Coffee with Democrats matters, lifting up stories, building connections, and keeping democracy strong. So tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for 30 minutes of conversation with elected officials, candidates, and Democratic influencers, only on Coffee with Democrats. So join me in welcoming the Executive Director and host of Coffee with Democrats, my husband, Kevin Dawson.
Well, good evening, Senator Mann. It's great to see you again. You're always such a gracious gentleman with your time, and we appreciate you coming on Coffee with Democrats this evening.
Well, thank you for having me.
So today is a special day. It's Veterans Day, and we have to acknowledge that. In my particular case, I'm a very lucky person. My father has 5 battle stars from World War II. He served in Sicily, Salerno, Normandy, southern France, and Okinawa.
Oh, gosh.
He was in the Coast Guard, and he was on the front lines on each of those. He was, and I'll show you a picture real quick. I'll add this to the stage. This is his Higgins boat preparing with all the soldiers on D-Day.
Oh gosh.
So
that's amazing.
Again, I talk about I'm a very lucky individual. He was lucky to survive. There's his service photograph taken in 1945, and this is a photo of him during the Salerno landings there in Italy. So I just wanted to just share that a little bit, because today is November 11th, which also is the commemorative day when actually Veterans Day and Armistice Day actually got started. It was a day of remembrance for Woodrow Wilson on November 11th in 1919. And then it became a law to have it as Veterans Day in 1956 by President Eisenhower.
Correct.
It's a great day, and I know that you've been out celebrating and remembering with your fellow veterans there at Del City. I saw pictures of you earlier today.
Yeah, we started at Del City this morning. I was honored to be asked to be the speaker for the Del City Veterans Day ceremony that happens every year at the community center. And then went later this afternoon, had the opportunity to go to the VFW American Legion, and it's actually American Legion Remembrance Ceremony for those veterans who have passed away this past year.
Right.
So right. Got to do that. Representative Fugate was a speaker at that event. And so it's been a long day. We've done a lot of stuff, but you know what? It's an exciting day, because anytime you can honor those who have served the country and those who have stepped up and answered the call, I think that's something that we should take solace in being able to do and be happy to do.
Right. And it is such a day that, like you said, for us to be grateful for the peoples who have made the sacrifice to serve our country, but also those who have had the ultimate sacrifice and have not come home.
Correct.
And so it's
and not just the individuals that served or made but their families.
Oh,
those
absolutely.
families have sacrificed as well. So I think it's a day to remember the families.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I would have completely glossed over that accidentally, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's very important, because the families are extremely important in helping the service members. I remember my brother being in Vietnam and the worry of my parents while he was over there. And again, he was at Da Nang and Way City during the Tet Offensive. So we know what worry is about, and I saw that from a very young age.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit more about. We'll kind of abbreviate this a little bit, because you have been so busy today. So we're not going to take up all 30 minutes of your time, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the things you've been working on. I've been reading. You've been working on some studies interim studies that have been very important. You've also got a message about trying to help people with Alzheimer's. So
yes.
I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that, and I'll step away from the stage while you do that.
Well, Kevin, thanks. We could do 2 or 3 episodes on some of this stuff, but on the veterans front, so met last year with the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs, and believe it or not, veterans still, when they apply for benefits in Oklahoma, fill out a paper application. Now think about that.
Wow.
They fill it out, and then we have someone that transcribes that. Our IT system there is antiquated and old, to say the least. So we have about 150, 160,000 veterans identified that are in that system. When they apply for benefits, it's manually put in. What we know, if we had the proper IT system that was modern, there's an additional almost 150,000 veterans that reside in Oklahoma that we could pull down from federal databases. So get that around 300,000. That modern system would allow people to apply electronically. It would allow us to communicate more freely with these individuals. And the department's vision is really to get all this amassed and take those individuals that were doing the data entry, so to speak, and turn them into, for lack of a better term, salespeople. Having some hours from maybe 6 in the morning to 9 at night, a couple shifts, but when veterans call in, instead of doing data entry, we're actually there to help them navigate this system. That same platform would not only be available just for state services, but also just to communicate. It would be a central hub for veterans. I mean, if we had a company, and this happens a lot in the private sector, you'll have a company that tries to expand their franchise, and they will come out because they know that veterans have discipline. They're hard workers. They've got all the things that are needed to make a franchise work or to make a business work. And so they'll do special programs where it's low financing, franchise fees, or to get veterans to come in when they're trying to expand. Up until now, you'd kind of have to go to an event. Maybe Department of Commerce would do it. If we get this system done, we can communicate that to everybody. We can communicate to veterans, hey, you can file for the homeowner's exemption. Here's the time. It just kind of becomes a central hub that veterans trust to go and get information. And so we did an interim study to find out what they're working towards. They've been trying to do this within the budget that they've been allocated. It was a bipartisan interim study, and I led it. And we think between now and December 6th, we'll file legislation to get the funding secured to make that happen sooner rather than later. Because right now we're leaving almost 150,000 veterans on the table that we need to be communicating to. And having worked with veterans throughout your career, a proud group of people.
Yes.
But these are not benefits that are given to them. These are earned benefits.
Absolutely.
And these are benefits that they should have access to: mental health, the whole 9 yards, education. And so our goal, when we get the number attached and get this bill filed, is really to try to help make the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs the gold standard in the country of delivering services to veterans. And that
is absolutely outstanding. I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you're introducing that. And like you said, in my previous career as an HR manager for the railroad, the veterans were one of the first at the very top of the list of the people that I tried to reach out to, and it was so rewarding to see people bring in their I-9s and be proud of their I-9 and their service, and be again so proud whenever we would make that job offer. So what you're doing is establishing that additional, eliminating that additional step that a lot of people have to go through, and it gets the information directly to them. And that's going to be so beneficial. And I love what you said about that being a gold standard for the nation. That is the best part of what you're talking about.
We want to do something that others copy. And I think, and this is not I think the Department of Veterans Affairs has that idea.
Yeah.
We just have to do our part on the legislative side to get the funding to make it happen sooner rather than later, and to make it happen in a robust way so that they can really do what they think they can do.
Well, that's an amazing story. And again, that I'm going to mention to folks that may not know this. This is your first time serving as a senator, So this will be your second year, your second actual year in the legislature doing this. But the fact is, you've been one of the more productive freshman senators that I have seen in a long, long time. Let's talk a little bit about, again, with my railroad background, I can tell you straight up and to your face, I was very proud of you for what you did for keeping Amtrak on. That was so instrumental. And I know that you didn't do it by yourself. You're not Superman, but you helped lead that effort. And that was so rewarding. And to have somebody like you as a friend, I wanted to call you and I wanted to meet up with you and I wanted to buy you a cup of coffee and say, thank you very much.
Well, I've got to tell you, and I think this is what Democrats that are tuning in need to understand. We can have victories that don't involve passing a bill and having it signed by the governor. So we realized about probably 3 weeks before the end of session, actually working with the Oklahoma City Chamber, that Texas had not funded it and really weren't discussing funding their part of Amtrak. We'd already done our part. And so in those discussions, I decided very quickly, we can't dictate what Texas does. We've done our part, but we can draw attention to it. So we started, I reached out to some Republican colleagues that like Amtrak and want to see the expansion and said, hey, we need to do a joint resolution asking for our friends across the border in a nice way to fund their portion. So we did that. Realized really by the last week of session that wasn't going to happen. There's a lot of issues down there. So we just continued to work the press. Didn't know what would happen. Central North Texas Association of Governments, which is kind of like our ACOG. The only difference is they actually get a cut of toll money. So they have money to appropriate, picked up on this. Wasn't sure originally how much I had to do with it, but their packet to their board had a lot of information, but it had a small, I say a small, 4 or 5 of our press articles and the things we had put out to demonstrate the fact that there's a commitment north of the border and we need to follow up here. So they passed it for 1 year. We're hopeful we will get additional funding for the next year from Texas, and then working forward, hopefully develop a coalition with Oklahoma City, Fort Worth, and those stops along the way to really start trying to make it robust and hopefully eventually get it expanded. That was something that I think we accomplished without passing anything, without introducing legislation. We just got in there and went to work.
You rolled up your sleeves, you got dirty, and you started digging your way out of that one. That was outstanding.
We did a similar thing. I don't know if you followed this, but the Department of Public Safety, I get a call about a week after session from some of our law enforcement in Del City that had coffee with some of their trooper friends that said the Department of Public Safety is going to pull all the troopers off the highway systems in Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, and the city of Tulsa. And we don't have the manpower to fill that. And they didn't sign up to, they're here in Oklahoma City. They want to stay. So I started doing my research and realized very quickly state law says that the interstate and military highway system is to be patrolled by the Oklahoma Highway Patrol.
Absolutely, yes.
So we asked for an AG's opinion. He sided with us. And the significance of that is, again, we didn't have to file legislation. But what happened is our local municipalities are not burdened with that additional burden, which they're already underfunded anyway, as we all know.
Right.
And that wasn't passed off by Department of Public Safety on our localities. And interestingly enough, they never came during session and asked for more money. They're short-staffed and need to move those people to rural Oklahoma. We get the AG's opinion, and since then, you've seen them being used by the governor to clear homeless camps in Tulsa and Oklahoma County and ICE enforcement. So I think it was more of a political situation than it was a funding situation. But we came out on top, and they're patrolling interstate highway systems in Oklahoma County.
Sure. And that was a great accomplishment as well. And I'm glad you bring that up because, again, you have been working hard. I know that you're not a stranger to the legislature. You were working with the school board for many years prior to becoming a senator. You want to talk a little bit about some of your background and how you got to where you are right now?
Sure. I mean, I started out, and this is a truth, started out a week out of high school working on the campaign of the late Congressman Mike Sinar in Northeast Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Did that for several years. Worked for State Superintendent Sandy Garrett for several years on her staff. Went into private business and served 7 years on the Oklahoma City Public Schools Board of Education. So I've been around this for a while, and was prepared at least, I think, as much as you can be for what I was about to get into.
So one other thing before we'll end this a little bit early tonight.
Okay.
I'm going to, because two things I'm going to ask you about, and then I'll turn it over to you. Or I guess one thing I'm going to ask you, and then I'll turn it over to you for final comments. But one thing I think I heard, and maybe I want to verify this rumor, and I'll do it live on Coffee with Democrats. Weren't you the president of Young Democrats for a long time?
I was the president of Oklahoma Young Democrats, University of Oklahoma Young Democrats. I actually was secretary of the second district, served on the state central committee, was state party secretary for a few years.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been around the party for a long time.
Well, that's excellent. That is very good news. So now I give it, I get that opportunity to give it to you and let you talk about something that is very important to you that you want to get out to the public and maybe even ask for the public's help.
Okay. Well, and we got a lot of things we're going to run next year, but I'll tell you probably one of the things that I think is close to me is I don't know anybody that hasn't had a friend or family member affected by Alzheimer's and the ravages of Alzheimer's. And you mentioned this earlier. We did an interim study. It was a bipartisan interim study that I led that we looked at the early detection and treatment of Alzheimer's. And so for those that are out there that follow this, they're already going to know it. But there are some early tests that have come out, some blood tests, some genetic marker tests that are available that we can use for people who have family history of Alzheimer's. And we know with some of the new drugs that are coming out, there are more in research, that if we can detect Alzheimer's early on and get the medication to that individual, you never cure Alzheimer's, but you can drastically slow it down, if not almost stop it in its tracks.
Right.
And so, and I don't want to sound macabre, but when you think about it, for somebody at 65 or 70 that may be diagnosed, if you can diagnose early, slow the progression down, that person can live out a relatively normal rest of their life.
Right.
And know their friends and not have the ravages of Alzheimer's. And I believe, and we're working, there will be some legislation that we'll be filing in the next couple of weeks, that Oklahoma, again, we talk about being the gold standard. We can lead the nation in early detection and treatment of Alzheimer's. And we've got people here that want to do it. We've got 3 folks that are on the National Alzheimer's Board that are interested in this. And so we've got a whole coalition of people that once we kind of figure out what our legislation is going to be, we'll start working on that and try to get that passed. If we get that passed, I think it'll set Oklahoma up to be kind of the leader in the country in early detection and treatment of Alzheimer's.
Well, again, it's outstanding to have you on Coffee with Democrats. I know we're going to cut this a little bit short, but again, it was only supposed to be 20 minutes or so.
Hey,
and you've met
thank you
that.
for having me.
Yes, and it's such a pleasure to have conversations with you. And I still am. I want you to take me up on it to buy you a cup of coffee, because that is my promise to you, that as soon as we get around each other, I will buy you a cup of coffee. Hell, I might even buy you dinner.
There you go. I like coffee. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. Hey, folks, we've got next week, we've got Michelle Dietrich from the DNC that's going to be on Coffee with Democrats. The week after that, the 25th, we're going to have the Nick Coffey, who is going to be running for Oklahoma Attorney General, on here. He's going to be live here in the studio. And Mark, I'm not sure. I'd like to show you this. We have a brand new studio set up here in the Cleveland County Democrat headquarters. It's a fantastic location, great facility, and it's a very comfortable place. I've got a place, with comfortable chairs where we can sit down in person and talk. And after the first year, I'll invite you down here so that I can buy you dinner, buy you a cup of coffee, and we can have a personal conversation here in the studio together for another Coffee with Democrats.
I'm going to hold you to that.
All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on Coffee with Democrats this evening. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you will, again, be grateful to the veterans for what they have done for our nation and for us individually. We can never repay them for the sacrifices that they've made. Folks, until the next time we are on here on Coffee with Democrats next Tuesday at 7 p.m., please be safe.